Did you know that every 40 seconds, someone in the United States has a stroke, and nearly 70% of those strokes happen to people over 65? Here's the kicker. A growing number of scientific studies now suggest that certain vitamins, yes, the very ones you may be taking every day for your health, might actually increase your risk of stroke while you sleep. That's right. You could be going to bed feeling like you're doing the right thing by supplementing, only for those very vitamins to quietly set the stage for a potentially life-altering event by morning. Imagine the irony. The supplements you trust to help you live longer may be nudging your brain toward danger when you're most vulnerable. Sleep should be a time of healing, recovery, and peace, not a hidden window where your risk for stroke silently spikes. And the scariest part, these vitamins are often marketed as essential for aging well. But we're pulling back the curtain today. We're going to count down the top 8 vitamins that science has linked to increased stroke risk during sleep. And trust me, when we get to number 1, you'll be shocked. It's one almost every senior takes, and the research behind it is deeply unsettling. Before we dive in, if you care about staying sharp, healthy, and strong as you age, hit that like button and subscribe. And share this with a friend who needs to hear this too. It might change their life. Number 8. Vitamin E. Vitamin E has long been praised as a powerful antioxidant, often taken for heart health and skin protection. But for seniors, particularly those already on blood-thinning medications like aspirin or warfarin, vitamin E can quietly turn from helpful to harmful. Here's why. Vitamin E naturally inhibits platelet aggregation. That's a fancy way of saying it stops blood from clotting as quickly. Normally, that might sound like a good thing. After all, you don't want your blood to clot too much, right? But when you combine vitamin E with other medications or an underlying condition like atrial fibrillation, you might swing too far in the other direction. Instead of preventing clots, you increase your risk of bleeding, including bleeding into the brain. During sleep, blood pressure dips and then fluctuates, especially in older adults with poor nighttime circulation. This fragile state makes the brain particularly vulnerable to even small hemorrhages. In fact, a large-scale study published in JAMA in 2005 found that high doses of vitamin E were associated with an increased risk of hemorrhagic stroke, the kind caused by bleeding in the brain. So, if you're popping a vitamin E supplement every night thinking it's keeping your heart healthy, it may be setting the stage for a dangerous event by morning. Number 7. Vitamin A. Now let's talk about a vitamin that's often overlooked, vitamin A. Found in supplements and in foods like liver, dairy, and some multivitamins, vitamin A is essential for vision, immune health, and reproduction. But too much vitamin A, especially the synthetic version known as retinol, can become toxic, particularly in older adults. As we age, our liver becomes less efficient at clearing excess amounts of fat-soluble vitamins like A, and this buildup can be dangerous. High levels of vitamin A can cause intracranial pressure to rise. That's the pressure inside your skull, and when it goes up, it can compress the brain, restrict blood flow, and elevate stroke risk. What's even more unsettling is that symptoms like dizziness, headache, blurred vision, or nausea might appear vague and easily dismissed as normal aging. But in reality, they could be early signs of vitamin A toxicity. Worse yet, these symptoms can worsen at night due to the body's circadian fluctuations in cerebral blood flow. If you're taking a multivitamin that contains vitamin A, especially more than 10,000 international units per day, you may be unknowingly inching closer to a perfect storm for a sleep-time stroke. Number 6. Vitamin C. Now before you panic, let's be clear. Vitamin C from food sources, like oranges or broccoli, is not the problem. But when it comes to megadoses from supplements, think 1,000 milligrams or more per day. The story changes, especially for seniors. Vitamin C is a water-soluble vitamin, which means the body generally flushes out the excess. But recent studies have shown that extremely high levels of vitamin C can convert into oxalate in the body. Oxalates are tiny, sharp crystals that can deposit in tissues, kidneys, and even blood vessels. Over time, this can cause something called vascular calcification. That's when the soft, flexible arteries begin to harden, like a pipe with lime buildup, reducing the brain's ability to regulate blood flow efficiently. At night, When blood pressure naturally drops and brain perfusion slows down, those stiffened arteries are less able to respond, making the brain more susceptible to ischemic stroke, a type caused by poor blood flow. And if you already have other risk factors like diabetes, high blood pressure, or kidney issues, the risk becomes even more pronounced. A 2013 study in the Journal of the American Society of Nephrology actually found that high-dose vitamin C supplements may accelerate kidney damage in patients with poor kidney function, and since the kidneys are responsible for regulating blood pressure, any damage there can have a ripple effect on stroke risk during sleep. So while vitamin C is often hailed as the go-to supplement for immune support, especially during flu season, more is not always better. For seniors, it might just be the wrong thing at the wrong time, especially before bed. Number 5. Vitamin B6. Vitamin B6 might not be the first thing you think of when it comes to stroke risk, but this vitamin, which is often taken for nerve health or to reduce symptoms of depression or PMS, has some surprising and serious implications for seniors, especially at night. In moderate amounts, B6 supports brain function, helps with mood regulation, and contributes to the production of neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine. But like many things in health, dose matters, and that's where the danger begins. Studies have found that when seniors take high doses of vitamin B6, particularly above 100 milligrams daily, it can lead to a condition called sensory neuropathy. That's where your nerves start to misfire, causing numbness, tingling, or burning sensations, especially in the hands and feet. Now, you might be wondering, how does that relate to stroke? Well, it's all about circulation and nerve signaling. When the peripheral nervous system becomes impaired due to B6 overload, it disrupts the normal regulation of vascular tone. That's your body's ability to widen or tighten blood vessels to maintain healthy blood flow, especially to the brain during vulnerable hours like sleep. If your vessels don't dilate properly while you're sleeping, parts of your brain may not get enough oxygen-rich blood. On top of that, excess B6 can interfere with how your blood clots. One clinical review in the journal Neurology found that high serum levels of B6 were associated with vascular damage, particularly in elderly individuals. So even though B6 is commonly included in brain-boosting supplements for seniors, overdoing it may actually raise your stroke risk during the very time you're trying to rest and recover, your sleep. If this is helpful so far, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more science-backed tips to keep you thriving at any age. And hey, share it with someone you love so they can make smarter choices too. Number 4. Vitamin B12. Vitamin B12 is critical for nerve health, red blood cell production, and energy. Seniors are especially encouraged to take B12 supplements because absorption decreases with age. That's true, but not all B12 is created equal. Most over-the-counter supplements use a form called cyanocobalamin, which contains a cyanide molecule that your body has to detoxify. While this small amount of cyanide is usually processed by the liver, studies have shown that in seniors, particularly those with kidney problems or poor liver detox capacity, cyanocobalamin can accumulate and lead to oxidative stress. That's essentially cellular damage caused by an overload of unstable molecules called free radicals. Oxidative stress is a key player in stroke risk, especially ischemic strokes, which occur when the brain's blood supply is blocked. The damage from oxidative stress can cause the inner lining of your blood vessels, called the endothelium, to stiffen and inflame. This makes it easier for clots to form, especially at night when circulation slows. A study published in Stroke, a journal from the American Heart Association, found that high levels of synthetic B12 in people over 65 were associated with greater risks of stroke and cardiovascular events, particularly when paired with elevated homocysteine levels. Homocysteine is a natural amino acid that can damage blood vessels if it's too high, and ironically, one of the main reasons B12 is recommended is to keep homocysteine low. But when the synthetic version is poorly metabolized, it may not have the protective effect you're counting on. And during sleep with lower heart rate and blood pressure, this imbalance can become even more dangerous. Methylcobalamin, the active form of B12, doesn't carry this risk, but it's rarely used in mass-market supplements. So, if you're taking a common multivitamin before bed that contains cyanocobalamin, you may be increasing oxidative strain on your brain while it's most defenseless. Number 3, vitamin D. Now we get to one of the most popular and most misunderstood vitamins on the market, vitamin D. Touted for everything from bone health to immune support, vitamin D has become a staple in nearly every senior's supplement routine. But what if we told you that high levels of vitamin D could actually increase your stroke risk while you sleep? First, a little background. Vitamin D helps regulate calcium in the body. That's important because calcium is needed for muscle function, including your heart, and for building strong bones. But when you take too much vitamin D, especially in doses above 4,000 international units per day, it can lead to something called hypercalcemia. That's a condition where too much calcium builds up in the blood. When that happens, the excess calcium doesn't just float around harmlessly. It deposits into soft tissues, including arteries. This calcification causes the arteries to stiffen, lose elasticity, and become more prone to blockages. If the arteries that feed your brain are affected, your risk of ischemic stroke goes up. And the danger doesn't stop there. Vitamin D also interacts with parathyroid hormone, PTH, which helps regulate calcium and phosphorus levels. When this balance is thrown off, especially overnight, while the body is trying to regulate itself, calcium can shift unpredictably in and out of tissues, increasing the risk of sudden vascular events. A 2019 study in the journal Neurology found that people with very high vitamin D levels had nearly twice the risk of stroke compared to those with moderate levels. And here's what's really unsettling. Many seniors take their vitamin D supplement at night, assuming it will help with sleep. But in reality, that timing could be backfiring. As your body slows down and tries to repair itself during deep sleep, the altered calcium regulation from excess vitamin D can trigger a vascular event when your guard is down. And since symptoms like confusion or dizziness upon waking are often misattributed to normal aging or grogginess, early signs of a mini stroke may go unnoticed until it's too late. Number 2, folic acid. Coming in at number 2 is folic acid, the synthetic version of folate, a B vitamin that helps your body build DNA and red blood cells. It's commonly added to cereals, baked goods, and almost every multivitamin aimed at seniors. The intention is good. Folate deficiency can lead to anemia and elevated homocysteine levels, which are linked to heart disease and stroke. But here's where things take a dangerous turn. The form most people take isn't folate, it's folic acid, and that's not the same thing. Folic acid needs to be converted in your liver to a usable form called L-methylfolate. But in nearly half the population, especially among older adults, this conversion process is slowed down or impaired due to a common genetic variation called MTHFR mutation. When folic acid isn't properly converted, it begins to accumulate in the bloodstream as unmetabolized folic acid. And this is where the risk begins to climb. Studies have shown that high levels of unmetabolized folic acid can promote inflammation in the blood vessels, disturb immune system balance, and paradoxically increase homocysteine levels, the very compound folate is supposed to lower. One 2016 study in the journal Clinical Epigenetics found that excessive folic acid intake in elderly adults was associated with DNA methylation errors, changes to gene expression that affect vascular health and can increase stroke risk. And it doesn't stop there. At night, your body undergoes DNA repair and vascular regulation. If your blood vessels are already inflamed and your methylation pathways are clogged, the normal protective processes that happen during sleep may fail, leaving your brain at higher risk of microvascular events like mini strokes. Even worse, folic acid can mask the symptoms of a vitamin B12 deficiency, which can lead to irreversible nerve damage and further compound the risk. So while folate is undeniably important, the synthetic version, folic acid, may be silently contributing to vascular damage in seniors, especially when taken daily in high doses or before bed. The fix? Consider getting folate from leafy greens or a supplement that contains methylfolate instead of folic acid. Because if your body can't process it properly, it could be doing more harm than good, especially while you sleep. Number 1. calcium, and finally, the number one vitamin that could raise your stroke risk in your sleep, calcium. Yes, the very same calcium that millions of seniors are told to take daily for bone strength, especially to prevent osteoporosis. But the science has been piling up, and it's not looking good. While calcium is essential for bone health, excessive calcium from supplements, not food, has been repeatedly linked to an increased risk of heart disease and stroke, particularly in older adults. Here's the core of the issue. Calcium supplements cause a sudden spike in blood calcium levels. Unlike calcium from food, which is absorbed slowly and buffered by other nutrients, supplemental calcium floods the bloodstream quickly. This abrupt increase can lead to a phenomenon known as vascular calcification. That's when calcium starts depositing into the walls of your arteries, making them stiff, narrow, and brittle. Over time, this calcification reduces the elasticity of the arteries that supply the brain. And during sleep, when blood pressure and heart rate drop, this rigidity can create a perfect storm for ischemic stroke, the type caused by blocked blood flow. But it doesn't stop there. Research published in the British Medical Journal in 2012 found that calcium supplements, especially without magnesium or vitamin K2, to help direct calcium to the bones, increased the risk of heart attack and stroke by nearly 30% in older adults. And nighttime might be the most dangerous window of all. As you sleep, your blood vessels rely on subtle shifts in calcium signaling to keep their tone and rhythm in balance. But if the vessels are calcified, they can't respond properly. Blood flow becomes uneven, the brain gets less oxygen, and clot risk rises. Add to this the fact that many seniors take their calcium pills at night, thinking it helps bones regenerate while sleeping, and you've got a serious hidden risk. To make things worse, some of these calcium supplements are paired with high doses of vitamin D, which, as we just covered, can also lead to calcium buildup in soft tissues. It's a double whammy, and the scariest part. Most people who suffer a stroke in their sleep don't even know it until the damage has already occurred. They wake up confused, weak on one side, or unable to speak, and it's already too late. That's why calcium supplements top this list. Not because calcium itself is bad, but because the way it's being used and the timing it's being taken make it a silent danger that's creeping up on seniors while they sleep. So there you have it. The 8 vitamins that science shows can raise your risk of stroke in your sleep. We're not saying vitamins are inherently bad. Far from it. But the way they're used, especially in high doses, synthetic forms, or in the wrong combinations, can backfire, particularly as we age. Your body becomes more sensitive, your metabolism slows, and your arteries aren't as flexible as they used to be. That means small imbalances can have big consequences. The key takeaway: don't blindly trust that all supplements are helping you. Always read the label, understand what form of the vitamin you're taking, and talk to your doctor or a qualified nutritionist, especially if you're taking multiple medications or have underlying conditions like hypertension or kidney issues. Timing matters too. Taking certain supplements before bed, when your body is entering a delicate repair phase, could be tipping the balance from helpful to harmful. And perhaps most importantly, don't forget that food-based nutrients, what you get from a colorful, balanced diet, are almost always safer and better absorbed than anything that comes in a bottle. When in doubt, choose real food and supplement smartly. Because the goal is to age well, sleep peacefully, and wake up strong, not to quietly build risk while you rest. If you found this eye-opening, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. You never know. It could be the nudge someone else needs to take control of their health today. Now, we want to hear from you. Which of these 8 vitamins surprised you the most in terms of stroke risk? Or do you take any of these supplements regularly and plan to make a change after watching this? Share with us your experiences and opinions in the comments below. We love to hear them. Thanks for watching.